folks. So, one of the topics I want to talk about today is something that's very important to be aware of, and that's how symptoms get worse. When my symptoms started in my hip, it mimicked some osteoarthritis that I had had in my other hip. And it was just a little pinch, right? And I ended up going to the doctor and getting a x-ray, and it showed no arthritis in that hip, in that new side. But it continued, and then I ended up going that medical route, which is what we usually do. Going to the PT. And then that didn't work because I was always monitoring that pinching, and it started to move. It moved more into the pelvic region and into the pubic area. And then then I started like an exercise program, and it started to move more. It moved down into my adductor and then around into my glute. And the more that I focused on it and monitored it, the worse it got. And I tried everything. I spent hundreds of dollars at the chiropractor, acupuncture, massage, and it got to the point where I was so focused on the symptom that the brain had become convinced that the symptom itself was dangerous. Okay? And this is what starts to set up a learned pain pattern. And for me, it got so bad that I was getting, God, I don't remember what I was getting, some sort of like treatment that was kind of kinesiology, and anyway, the practitioner just touched a very small little point on my foot, right? Very delicately. And this shooting electrical current went up my leg. And I just about jumped off the table. Okay? And I asked her, I said, has this ever happened before? And she said, no. So she didn't do anything. It was all from my own brain's perception of danger. Okay? Because I had taught my brain that the symptom was now dangerous. And this is what happens with mind-body people. And because the medical community doesn't know anything about mind-body stuff, and it's slowly getting out there, slowly, but our society is so medicalized. We don't think psychologically. We think physical. We think structural. Okay? Because we are conditioned to focus on something outside. Okay? And then we get the hope that, the doctor is going to fix us, and the PT is going to fix us, and the surgery is going to fix us, and the meds are going to fix us. But it doesn't change the perception of danger. It doesn't even touch it. If anything, it makes it worse. Often, most often. So this is why in recovery we start to have to learn to not focus on symptoms and start to really, it's a paradigm shift to start to see things completely psychologically, from the perception that the brain is not perceiving safety. It has not been able to come back down to baseline. It's way up there. The brain is being flooded with cortisol. And when this brain gets flooded with cortisol, we start losing all sense of ourself. And I hear this all the time, and I went through it myself. we actually lose our sense of our lovely self. It's like, where did I go? What is wrong with me? I'm just a mess. And I remember just feeling so shaky. And my mind just going into this like, oh my God, what is going on? What, just freaked out. And that's what high levels of cortisol does. It really affects our perception of ourself, our experience of ourself, our perception of the world, perception of others, our relationships, our activities. So being aware of this, first of all, how we relate to symptoms, right? And how focusing on symptoms can cause way more damage than the original danger message. Monitoring symptoms. But if you do have the right clarity, you can stop that pattern. Now I notice that there's a lot of people, because I'm on all those forums on on social media and the different groups, and a lot of people are so symptom focused. And if you want to get better, that's one of the first things that we have to stop, and we stop it through that clarity that what I have is being caused by my brain perceiving danger. And so we stop that monitoring of the symptom, because the symptom will go when it goes, right? Like I mentioned in a previous video, how to relate to our symptoms. When the brain perceives safety enough. And for most of us, it's little by little by little by little, like tiny, tiny, tiny little increments. So monitoring is not going to be good, and you'll see it. It'll come up and it'll go down. It'll go up and it'll go down. But gradually, it's headed towards down. Okay. And so that's why we want to oh yeah, I was able to go out and go for a nice long walk today, or I was able to eat these foods and it didn't bother me. And we notice those, what we call wins, we notice those improvements rather than look for the, oh no, I still have symptoms. Okay. So I wanted to give you an example of what I went through, because my journey was a very clear example of how monitoring symptoms can really make them much, much, much worse. I went from a little pinch in my groin to having my whole leg contract and whole pelvis twist, and all the way down into my foot, because I obsessed with it. Because that's kind of the way, I'm kind of wired that way, just get better. If there's something wrong, I got to figure it out. So I went the medical route, I went the structural route, 1,000%. And you get the doctor and the massage therapist, they're like, wow, you're really tight. And that all that is going right into the frontal lobe. The brain's like, oh God, she's really tight. We're really tight. I've got a problem. So all that information is going right in, because that's the way we're wired. But if it's going in that way, we can give it the right information, and it'll go in too. And that's what recovery is all about, is giving the brain the right information. I've got a little spot. All right. I hope this was helpful. Okay, take care. Bye.